What up? You're only going to get one what up right now. That's it, America. That's it. Just one what up. That's all you're going to get right now. It's your boy Rod and Don, and we are back for another episode of Brooklyn Beards and Ball Sports Show. A lot to talk about. Playoffs are finally here. We are somewhat excited, and we're going to talk about all the good stuff going on in NFL, NBA, a lot of culture stuff. You know how we do. But before we get into what we do, my boy Don and I just need you to continue to do us a favor. We need you to like this video. We need you to comment. We need you to subscribe. Hit that little all notifications so you get everything that's popping with the sports show on your phone, on Facebook and on YouTube. Listen, we really would appreciate it. We thank you guys for supporting us from day one, and we just want to keep giving you great content and great flow. What's going on, Big D? How you feel, man?
Oh, man, it's all good. I'm sure... I can't wait to get into this show because
I'm sure
this is going to be I think it's going to be one of our best shows. I'm not saying that, because of any other reason than I enjoy, co-hosting this show with you. I like your takes, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the playoffs. This is what we man, it's right there next weekend. I'm very excited. So. Without further ado, let's get into it, man. Week 18 recap. Oh, man. Week 18. We had some very interesting games that have taken place.
Yep.
Some teams, some surprising upsets. Some teams limping into the playoffs. Some teams playing spoiler, sorry, Packers fans. And so it's been incredibly interesting so far. But, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't start off with the game that we want to talk about the most, one of the most exciting games, a game that based on, odds makers and especially the Cowboys having something to play for, potentially winning their division. Let's talk about the Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. What can you say?
Well, what can you say? Go ahead. I know you got a take. I'm sure you have a thought. I'll reserve my comment till the conclusion.
So clearly the Cowboys were playing. And although the Eagles game initially seemed like it was, a foregone conclusion that they were going to win and in terms win the division, win the number one seed, the Cowboys did not look good at all. And I have to say this. They played the Washington Commanders, who had nothing to play for except pride, right? Which is important. It is a divisional game. But the fact that your team was only able to put up 6 points against a third string rookie quarterback. You can't say that it was because, you didn't play all your starters. Your starters played all the way into the fourth quarter. They played, if not the whole game. And your run game, you have mentioned before, a total team loss. This is not good. There was not one aspect of the game, or what Dallas put out that looked good. Special teams was terrible. Run game was terrible. Quarterback play, pick six Dak, terrible. Defense made Howell look great. There is nothing good that could be taken from the fact that you guys lost with all your starters against a team that had nothing to play for. Not only that, you are playing next week against Tampa Bay. And although Tom Brady is a statue, Tom Brady is 45 years old, he is, with those opportunities, I had been saying this before, and it pretty much was kind of, I was laughed at, and you were saying, the interceptions don't mean anything, but clearly they do. And I will stand on the fact that if the Cowboys turn the ball over next week against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you guys will be one and done. What do you say?
Well, let me say this for America, just so my background's a little interesting. Here, I have a couch, and what that means is that usually the couch is where teams who did not make the playoffs will be sitting. They will be on the couch. However, there's always room on the couch for teams that do not prevail further or far along enough in the playoffs. So, diehard Cowboy fan, 1977. I started watching my Cowboys, Tony Dorsett's rookie year. Became a Cowboy fan when my older cousin Mike was a Cowboy fan, and followed my older cousin there and watched Tony Dorsett and fell in love with the Cowboys. Been a Cowboy fan ever since. Watched some highs and lows, saw some great victories, dynasties, Super Bowl rings, and so forth and so on. Y'all know the great history and legacy of the Dallas Cowboys. So anyway, nevertheless, I am an objective Cowboy fan. Okay, I'm not one of these lunatic fans that are out here running around and with these lofty ideas that the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl when we go 1-0, right? I'm very tame. I'm very 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 modular when it comes to my temperament with the Cowboys. Okay, but I love my Cowboys and I'm here. I'm going to defend them. But the couch you see behind me is the couch that you will see, and I've got, I think it's a 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's a 6-seater. So I've got room for McCarthy. I've got room for Dak. I've got room for Zeke. I've got room for Micah, Diggs, CD. And these guys will most likely be on the couch come Tuesday morning. All right. I don't think the Cowboys are going to win. But let me tell you why as I begin to just quickly break down my thoughts of yesterday's game. My co-host said Don. My co-host Don says, the Cowboys only scored, 6 points against a rookie quarterback, Howell, right? Who did look pretty decent, okay? Like Dobbs did the week before. Clearly Howell doesn't play defense. So Washington, as we know, they've always had a really, really good defense, particularly their front four. And Dallas looked really bad. We looked really, really bad. I think we were all shocked by the way the Cowboys played yesterday. Even those that are hating and want to see the Cowboys' demise. We looked bad. It was shocking on all fronts. Couldn't run the ball as expected. Play calling was very vanilla. Some would suggest that the Cowboys maybe wanted to go vanilla because they didn't want to reveal much of their game plan or really go into their bag. Kellen Moore, that is, our OC, because they wanted to save some of the goodies for next week. Didn't want to give Tampa Bay too much to look at. Not that they couldn't see, 17 weeks worth of tape on the Dallas Cowboys. Not that they would just be looking at yesterday's game. But Dallas looked extremely bad, very bad. Dak looked bad, very bad. I think he had like an 18% quarterback rating. He looked horrible. Throwing the ball for as many times as he did. I think 37 times he threw the ball. He looked really bad. 14 to 37 for 128 yards and a pick six, as we heard Don say. It was bad. I had nothing to do today. I cannot defend the Cowboys right now. I cannot say that I feel good about the way we're entering into the playoffs. It is very sad. It's sickening to see this, and quite honest with you, and not to mention we 1-4 this year when we play on grass fields. We don't look good on grass either. We tend to, not that we don't play well, but we seem not to prevail on grass fields. So Dallas struggles on the grass, and you got to be concerned with Tom Brady. I think one of the things Don just brought out, he is not a mobile quarterback like Dobbs was and Howell was, and how these rookies look pretty good against a starting defense, a defense that has been really good for the most part all year long. And it's concerning. Our cornerback situation is very bad. We looked bad. We looked really, really, really bad. Mullins, who we picked up, I think, from Green Bay a couple of weeks back, we signed him on the squad. He looks. I think they need to deactivate him ASAP, right away. Deactivate. That's it. Just tell him, look, don't even come. Don't worry about it. You good. You could watch it from your screen at home. He was trash. Nashawn Wright, a second-year guy, he's gonna struggle. Brady's gonna have a field day on that side of the field. He won't even have to play on the big side. Just go to whoever's on that side. Doesn't matter. Just throw on the other side of the field. Brady's going to have a field day there. Unless we get Deron Bland, who got hurt yesterday, but they said he will play on Sunday. And he's a fine rookie. He's got 5 picks. One of the top rookies in the league this year. Has been having a phenomenal season. I think we're going to have to definitely put him on the cornerback side there opposite Diggs. Okay? But look. I don't want to get into all of the nuances of what we need to do, okay? We'll have Tyler Biotish back. Our center is coming back. LVE, Vayton Landeresh, he'll be back. Looking forward to having him to kind of secure the middle there for us a bit. And so, and we'll have Rankins as well, okay? Hankins, I'm sorry, excuse me. Hankins will be there. A DT that we picked up from the Raiders some back midseason. And when he's in the game, Dallas actually gives up 1 yard less per carry when he's out there. So, he can fortify our middle to some degree, but I'm concerned. The offensive line does not look good, even with Biotish coming back. I still don't think we have enough. I would like to see, probably Tyron Smith go back to the left tackle side. He's on the right tackle side because we haven't ran the ball well since Terrence Steele went down for the year. He's been the best offensive lineman on our team all year long, particularly with the run. So, but Dallas is going to struggle, and I don't think we're going to beat the Buccaneers come Monday night. That's just what I believe. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm here, and I'm doing good. I feel fine. I was very, very, very upset, flustered, in my feelings yesterday. But, 24 hours makes a difference. And so I'm here, Don. But, so, yeah, go ahead. Continue to talk.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been Dak has been successful since he's been back, but we do have to state a few facts. 7 straight games, Dak has thrown an interception.
Yep.
You guys had 11 drives without a first down yesterday. 11 drives.
But Dak was number 1 against the third down efficiency all year. I mean, not all year long, but since his return, he's been the number 1 quarterback.
What does that mean, though?
Third down, yesterday.
What exactly does that mean? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
If we take,
what does that mean?
Obviously, it is not equating to good wins. It's you're beating teams that, and let's be clear about it. You guys scored 6 points yesterday, but that's with the Commanders kicker missing 2 extra points, missing a field goal. Mm-hmm. Also, a drive where Terry McLaurin dropped the ball. That would have probably led to at least another field goal or a touchdown. He was wide open to hit him in his chest, and he's sure hands. He's a great receiver. So it wasn't even as close as even the score, and that was a blowout to hold you guys. And you guys caught CeeDee Lamb caught a touchdown going into the third quarter, right before the half.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't. Maher misses the extra point, so 6 points.
Which is very strange.
There is no, and I know that you are. Although you gave your whole 6 seats on it, and I got 5 smooth stones and I got 1 left, and I know you're doing all that stuff, but ultimately you can't feel like. And I'll say this: maybe Dak has gotten it out of his system. Maybe Dak has gotten it out of his system, and he took the bad one already. So next week, maybe we see a different, Cowboys team. Because let's face it, Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't a great team, but they do have a quarterback that from an experience level. And of course, let's get his record against the Cowboys. He's undefeated against the Cowboys. So something has to give, right? Or you will have, your friends behind you sitting in our next show. So something has to give. Either, Brady's perfect record is going to, he'll be 7-1 against them, or, the Cowboys will prevail. Cowboys
Dallas
will prevail.
can beat them.
Dallas
can beat them. I mean,
but if they turn the ball over, they won't beat them.
No, they won't. This is where you've been arguing your point the last several weeks, Dak and interceptions, and I've been saying to you, my defense is that those interceptions don't come. And I'll just make this real quick on this part. I know we got a lot to cover today on the show, but I want to say this is that with Dak, the interceptions were coming, what I believe, not at critical times in the game. Right, he still was throwing bad throws. Some of it was on the receivers, not all on Dak, but bad throws. Yesterday, the first one that guy dropped, bad throw, and then the very next play, you just say, "Hey, let's do this over.
Let's double down.
Let's double down, and I'm going to really throw it to you this time, and to make it real easy for you." And the sad part about that play is that they're in the cover 2, which means that corner can just sit there. He doesn't even have to do anything but sit there. So the receiver, Noah Brown, could run a curl. He could run a comeback. He could do whatever he wants to do. And all that receiver got to do, that DB got to do is sit and wait for the ball. And Dak just threw it right to him. So I don't know what Dak was thinking. You do that against Tampa Bay, or you give the short field to Tom Brady like you gave Howell yesterday, trust me. And there's no such thing as field goal attempts. They're going to punch that ball in. I agree. But Dallas can win this game, as we both know. I just don't think that we'll win this game because I just think Brady, from what he's learned in New England all these years, he understands the power of a mismatch, and he's going to take advantage of that, and that's what he does because that's just what the greatest quarterback of all time will do. So, no, I know. I mean, look, you make out good points, but if Dak is turning the ball over like he has been, you're right. We don't win that game. Not against Tom Brady. Not at this level. That doesn't work in the playoffs. Against Indianapolis, against Detroit, against Chicago, that works. But not against, Brady and anybody else we may happen to see if we get past Tampa.
And especially the way you guys have played over the last, let's say, month. It hasn't been good. Overall, yeah, you guys haven't looked the same way and as dominant. Yeah. So my question is this. You've kind of said it. The Cowboys, you think, will be one and done.
I do believe we'll be one and done.
Now,
I don't
Mike McCarthy.
Make that plain, but go ahead. Yeah.
Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Is he on the hot seat? Or do you think that Jerry Jones, loves him as a son and will keep him? Now you got Dan Quinn, who is, drawing interest from because there's quite a few vacancies so far. And it hasn't even gotten to the point where, Wildcard Wednesday, there should be a few, more vacancies that are created depending on how everything turns out. Is Mike McCarthy on the hot seat? And so when the other question is, or what's should be, kind of like, okay, Jerry, how about don't say anything too much? Because when they asked Jerry Jones, how do you feel about this, loss? We get to suck on this all week. Where's the pause, Jerry? Jerry, we need a pause from you after that. He quoted, ESPN, if this doesn't make you get ready to go out 6 or 7 days from now, nothing will. Why do you always need a motivating factor to get you ready to play? This is why Dak is your quarterback. This is why you always tout that the star is so impressive and players want to come from all over to play for Dallas. But he seems to perpetuate the fact that it's just, it's a lot of sizzle and no pop. Like it's impressive that the Cowboys are a household name. It's impressive that it's a very lucrative franchise, but as far as wins, as far as Super Bowl, as far as advancing, and one more question I have for you, Rod. Who is your number one receiver? Can you tell me who your number one is? It Noah Brown?
Dallas Cowboys right now?
Is it Noah Brown?
You would think it's Noah Brown the way Dak keeps trying to throw him the ball. First of all, Cowboy receivers can't get into separation, so that's it. You got CeeDee Lamb, and then it falls off after that. I don't even care about T.Y. Hilton. Hilton is not the Hilton we know back of Indianapolis days. Gallup is still not healthy all the way. He can't break his routes well. He sits down wrong. He can't get separation. He's not physical. And Noah Brown, I just don't understand. Noah's played well for us this year in spots, but he's clearly not a number 2 or number 3. He's been a number 4 receiver for a good amount of time for the 6 years he's been with the Cowboys. So number 1, to answer your question, CeeDee. Number 2, I don't think there's anything wrong with motivation. You're talking about why you need motivation. Look, athletes all need motivation. Everybody. Tom Brady's becoming
every week. Every week?
Well, what it is, look.
It's win or go home. So why
if you're going to go every week, well, then, yeah, let's look at that. If you look at the Cowboys this year by way of pattern, I hate to pull this right here. So
pull this because this is such a bad take.
I'm railing into my debate right now.
This is a nutso take. Take. I'm ready for it.
You hear that, nutso? The boy here says he owes me. He owes me.
Listen. The Cowboys, when we lose, we have not lost 2 games in a row this year. In fact, every time we lost the game, we went on a long winning streak, okay? So we hope that trend could continue into the playoffs. But everybody needs motivation, Don. Come on. That's sports, right? Brady has been wearing a chip on his shoulder since the day of the NFL draft, okay? So everybody,
But why does that have to be stated? Why is Jerry Jones? Where's the coach? Where's the coach motivating?
Well, let's go to that real quick. So here is the thing, and let me just say this very quickly. And I'm talking to all my Cowboy fans out there because there's a huge generational gap. It's talked a lot about in the Cowboy fan circles, okay? When you are a Cowboy fan like myself, who has not when we were like 3 years old winning a Super Bowl, when you can vividly, remember the Cowboys not just winning a Super Bowl like the Rams and then you're out of the playoffs, or like the Bucs in 2003 or the Ravens in 2000. The Cowboys were a dynasty in the 90s, okay? A dynasty. We went to 4 straight NFC championships, winning 3 Super Bowls out of 4 years. You were used to a level. Now, Jimmy handled that when he got there, when Jerry bought the team. Jerry's job was to make the Cowboys money. When he bought the team, they was losing $1 million a month, okay? They were in the red. His job was to make the Cowboys a viable commodity and make them a well-oiled machine when it comes to making money. He has successfully done that. He has been able to do that. But the other part is he has not been able to get a coach to handle the field issues like Jimmy Johnson was. If you ever get a chance, America, Don, I want you to Google a gentleman by the name of Kervin Richards. You know who Kervin Richards is? Kervin Richards was a backup running back to Emmitt Smith in the 1992 season. The Cowboys, in the last game of the season, we went 13-3 that year. #1 seed. We were going to win the Super Bowl. In the last game of the season, that meant nothing to the Cowboys, who already locked the #1 seed. And by the way, we beat the Chicago Bears 28-17. Kervin Richards fumbled the ball twice in the fourth quarter. You know what happened to old Kervin? He got cut. Jimmy Johnson was not having it. He held guys responsible, accountable for their actions. The Cowboys are the ones that doesn't have that. I say all that to say this. All those years later now, you look at these milquetoast coaches that Jerry hires. He doesn't want that. Why? Because Jimmy got credit. Jerry did not. And Jerry wants a coach who's going to do just what you've been saying Mike McCarthy has done all year. Look up at the scoreboard. That's all we need you to do. That's it. And so you ask if McCarthy is going to be in the hot seat? Not at all. Not at all. He'll be back next year. Look, the Cowboys won over double-digit seasons, back-to-back, 12-game seasons, back-to-back, in the playoffs again, okay? Won their division last year. For all intents and purposes, McCarthy is a good coach. We can't say he's a bad coach. He's a really good coach. But he does not have the ability to take the Cowboys to that next level because we don't have a coach that is accountable, and that's how Jerry wants it. So, unfortunately, Mike is going to stay. But if he stays, hey, it is what it is. But mediocrity will always be the Cowboys' portion as long as you have coaches like Garrett, Wade Phillip, and a Mike McCarthy that is on the sideline, and they have to let Jerry do what Jerry does. Your own. Who owns your team? Is your team ever your owner doing any type of press conferences after the game?
Nope.
Yeah,
not at all. So my question is,
go ahead.
So what is to be done about the fact that Dallas, arguably, depending on what happens in free agency, the Commanders are a quarterback away.
Yes,
right?
They are. I agree.
So
yes,
and Philly isn't going anywhere. So is Dallas okay? And Dallas fans okay being the third best team? You know what?
No, because we're not the third best team.
Next year you could be.
Are you trying to imply that the Commanders and Eagles are better than Dallas?
Well, what is who won the division?
Well, I'm
asking who won the division.
In the last game of the season, they did. The Eagles. Did they not?
Right.
I mean, they didn't clinch like since week 5. I mean, it took them to the last game of the season. In fact, and by the way, the Giants was only an onside kick away from making that game really interesting, by the way. So, I mean. So,
I'm if we look at each team, how they have ended the season. Now, you would have to say, and granted, whether you want to say they played or they didn't play, they didn't have any incentive once they knew or they felt to a degree that the Eagles were going to pull it out. But Washington, if you look at all of their positions, quarterback is what they're missing. The Eagles are good at their quarterback position. They have a run game, their defense, offensive line, skilled players.
Yeah.
They have a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3 receiver and a tight end. You guys don't have that. Yeah. You don't have defined roles. You have CeeDee Lamb, who is the pseudo number 1 receiver, but doesn't get the type of targets consistently, you know, that a number one receiver should get.
He had over 100 catches, and he has over 1,100 yards this year. I mean, he's done what every other number one receiver has done. CD is no different. His stats compare.
So why is it in question?
Across the league.
Why is it in question if he's the number one receiver? Is
Well,
there other teams there? It's unequivocally, you know who the number one receiver is. If you are competing, and what also, like we discussed, what makes a shutdown corner, right? What makes a number one receiver is in crunch time, you are almost force-fed the ball, right? Regardless, because think about when Devontae was still with the Packers. That might have been, you know, kind of to their demise, but think about when Aaron Rodgers needed a first down. If he wasn't going to Aaron Jones, he was going to Devontae. No question. He wasn't pulling out, some third receiver and trying to force feed him. And even with double coverage, even when people were trying to take Devontae Adams away, if he's the number one receiver, you figure out how to get him the ball. Very much like they were doing with Cooper Kupp. Regardless, Cooper Kupp was and I mean, obviously it didn't work out this year because it was too obvious, and with injuries, the Rams, it didn't work out. But last year, Cooper Kupp there was no doubt when you played the Rams who the number one receiver was. I don't think you can really say that teams, they are scheming against or towards CeeDee Lamb to try to take him away. But what happens if they're successful in taking him away?
Well, that's just it. I mean, again, CD has 107 catches on the year with 156 targets with 1,300 yards. So those numbers would be indicative of the fact that teams still haven't taken him away, right? In fact, CD began to emerge towards the last 8-9 games of the season, where in the beginning of the year, we didn't know what CD was. He struggled a little bit in the beginning of the year, but then he started to emerge and really begin to separate himself in terms of the other receivers on the team. And we've been trying to find that number two. Now, again, Gallup hasn't been healthy, and you're right. If CD, which is going to get a lot of double coverage, I'm sure, against Tampa Bay, these other guys have to step up. The other team, Dalton Schultz, Hendershot, Ferguson, our tight ends, they've been able to somewhat compensate for not having that number two receiver that we need to have. So they've played a little well, and I do think we probably we need to use Pollard a little bit more and scheme him open a little bit more, kind of use him in a CMC kind of way that you guys do out in San Francisco. But Dallas just doesn't seem to do that. We seem to be very generic and unimaginative in most cases, and we don't know how to scheme guys open. And what we've, and again, CD should be more in the slot like he was when Coop was there, and he needs to be able to be moved around a lot. Dallas will sometimes do it, but then sometimes they won't, and that's the baffling part. But to what you're trying to say as it relates to CD Lamb, Lamb is clearly a number one. He is. Now we don't have that defined number two, like the Eagles have, or maybe even I would say probably
the Niners
or the Niners.
The Niners
right?
have.
Well, the Niners don't even have a number one, right? The Niners have just, in my mind, the Niners is a combination of guys who can run the ball and catch the ball.
We got multiple.
Probably your number one receiver.
He's not.
Would you say you don't think he's not your number one?
He's not.
Well, Purdy loves him. He finds them all the time.
That's fine. We have multiple. If we're going based off of your definition, we got multiple number ones. Then, if that's, we got 1A, one. Listen,
Debo is probably your number one,
right?
But I mean, but the way you're.
How about Brandon Ayuk? Ayuk, is he okay?
Ayuk is not going to no other team and be a number one. You think Ayuk could be a number one somewhere else? You think Brandon Ayuk could be a number one somewhere else? Is that what you're trying to tell me, Donald Cornelius, on this show? You know what? I'm sick of this.
Can we look at Brandon Ayuk's numbers, please?
We got to pull up. Right
yeah. Pull up Brandon Ayuk's numbers real quick.
I can't take this. Let me see. I have to. America, you got to give me a minute.
Just give him a second.
This is unreal. I can't. I'm like literally just like. I can't. Brandon Ayuk. Let's. Oh my God, I can't believe this. So
How slow
Brandon
is-
Ayuk.
How
Brandon
slow is your
Ayuk.
internet?
He has
Let's go.
78. He has 78 catches
Okay.
on 114 targets. He has over 1,000 yards. Okay.
But no, can I get an exact number like you gave?
1,015 yards. Okay. And
Okay.
8 TDs.
And your
Okay.
number one receiver only has 300 more yards than him? I'm just so I'm not understanding something.
All right. Who else is on? Okay, 78. Let's go here now. Who else we got? Let's look at what's his name? What's your tight end's name? What's your tight end?
George Kittle.
George Kittle. Let's look at Kittle. George Kittle. Come on.
Listen,
George Kittle. Okay, he has 60 receptions. How many games did he play this year? Wasn't he hurt for a little while? No. Okay. 70. He has got 60 receptions. Okay, for 765 yards, and he has 11 TDs. Okay. All right. And let me just pull up. Let's just pull up Debo real fast. Okay. And then we'll look, because the point I'm trying to make here. He's got, now we know Debo was hurt, but
Exactly.
he ended up with 56 catches. Okay, which means he probably had a lot more. Y'all spread the wealth. Cowboys almost had 3 guys a year ago with 1,000 yards between CD, because this is the second year with CD, who was a number 2 last year to Coop. He had 1,000 yards still, right? And you had Coop, who had 1,000 yards, and then you still had Michael Gallup. Not last year, the year before he got hurt. He was almost at 1,000 yards. It's just the fact that y'all spread the ball around. But Ayuk, if Ayuk is the number one, nobody's losing sleep over trying to stop Ayuk. You just can't stop the 49ers because they have too many weapons, and Kyle Shanahan just knows how to distribute the ball evenly.
so
I'm
not talking about on the 49ers, although he is. I think there are teams that if Brandon Ayuk went to, he would be the number one receiver. And you're clearly the number one receiver. What? You just went on and on about CeeDee Lamb, and he only has maybe 300 yards over our number 2 receiver.
Is Brandon Ayuk even a Pro Bowler? Did he ever make the Pro Bowl?
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just trying to say, if you're gonna be a number 1, you got to at least get a Pro Bowl nod. I mean, right? I mean, you can't be a number 1 and not have ever been in a Pro Bowl before. I don't think Brandon Ayuk has ever been in a Pro Bowl before. Okay.
Oh God.
We're scared. He's got 109. How many years has this guy been in the league? Even he has 194 receptions total for his career. Brandon Ayuk.
I think this might be his 3rd year.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just don't have the time to pull up all these stats.
All right. Well, listen. We'll agree to disagree.
Brandon Ayuk. You sound like the other 49er fan here who wants to say Juszczyk is a Hall of Famer. And Kittles is a Hall of Famer. Do you want to go on record right now in this show and say that Kittles is a Hall of Fame tight end? Is that what you want to say? Tell me now.
Kittle is a Hall of Fame tight end.
He just lost credit. The show is gonna go.
So wait a minute. Are we basing it solely off of numbers? What does Kittle bring to the
Get in the
table?
Hall of Fame. You can't get in the Hall of Fame without no number. What?
No. I'm not saying it's more than just TDs and receptions. He is. What does he bring to the table as a player?
Oh, who are you talking about? Ayuk or Kittles?
I'm talking about Kittle.
Kittle's he's a very good tight end. He's one of the top 5 tight ends in the league, I would say.
But
no
you
question.
don't think. But you
He's
don't
not
think.
a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay, he's
You
not a
think
Hall of
he's
Famer. Okay, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer. Cool, no problem. He's not a Hall of Famer. Let's talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's talk about Wildcard weekend. There's some other teams that are playing other than the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Can I get a score, or do you want to wait till closer to the time? We can wait till our next show, and you can see who's back from injury.
We have
see who
another
you
show
have
before the playoffs. Yeah, we can do it later this week. Yeah, we'll dive into it. Yeah, that's cool.
49ers play Seattle. Now I'll say this. I am happy for Geno. I'm happy for his resurgence. And in light of Russell Wilson being traded, he played really well. Okay.
Right.
I'm not thrilled about playing a team a third time, personally. Right now they have us as 10.5 point favorites. So Vegas doesn't look at it as it being a problem at all. But I will go based off of the fact that we played the Rams last year and we swept the Rams in the regular season. And then playoff time came and we lost the game. But there is a difference. The difference is Brock Purdy. I think that Jimmy G, although he's a winning quarterback, his numbers speak for itself. So I wouldn't dare take away from that. But Brock Purdy, what did he do? What did he do yesterday? He only threw three touchdowns. And so I know he's one of only 2 quarterbacks to have multiple touchdowns in his first 6 starts with over 100 passer rating. The other one to do that was who? Do you know who would be? Justin Herbert. He did it in 7 games. He had that streak in 7 games. So I don't understand why you can't see what Brock Purdy is doing. He has a live arm. What are we laughing about?
Because you talking
what
about
is funny?
Because
who played better yesterday?
Yeah. Okay, so y'all played Rutgers, right? And we played a team with a really, really good defense in front 4. The Cardinals are trash.
So what does that have to? What does that have to do? What did I say about J.J. Watt? They were gonna make J.J. Watt look good on his last game, and he's trying to talk to everybody and give them words of encouragement. Go retire. Right. It's over. Get out of here. Right. You know it's over. You had a good Hall of Fame career. All right. Have a good life. No, you don't need to impart anything else into anybody.
But those sacks were meaningless, right? I mean, they were giving the numbers, but they were meaningless. I mean, the game was already. Like I said, that game, y'all could have forfeited that game. They were going to cancel a game. It shouldn't have been Cincinnati Buffalo. They should have just said, you know what? We'll just get rid of. Let's just pick a game to get rid of. Let's remove the 9.
So you're saying because you feel Arizona was such a terrible team,
an unworthy opponent,
unworthy. We shouldn't. So it seems like, although you said that you don't feel that the Cowboys will win, it seems more and more as you compare it to other games, you're giving an excuse why your Cowboys only put up 6 points. Because you're talking about, their defense.
Because Dallas still should have, and at the end of the day, Dallas should have won yesterday's game, regardless. Whether they knew they had anything to play for or not.
And it shouldn't have been close, right?
And it shouldn't have been close.
Because
when Brock
Purdy played the Washington Commanders, I remember somebody on this show saying this is the first time they'll see a defense, and although it was slow in the beginning, right? Because Brock Purdy, Washington. Okay, what happened ultimately though?
Well, Shanahan made adjustments, and y'all found a way to beat a team that y'all was still superior of at the end of the day. Why? Because the Commanders have no quarterback, and y'all's defense eventually was going to put the clamp down, which Dallas defense did not do. Dallas does a really good defense, but unfortunately, we couldn't stop a rookie quarterback. There's no way.
In his first start, by the way.
I agree.
At least we played 2 quarterbacks, right? Because when we initially played, they wind up putting Carson Wentz back in, right? Yeah. Because we made what's his name look Heineke, bad. Yeah. Heineke, and they put Carson Wentz. So we beat really 2 quarterbacks. We got a 2 for,
2
right?
trash quarterbacks. Yeah.
And you played a quarterback with his first start, and he's not coming out of any quarterback powerhouse. He came from North Carolina.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Petey Pablo. That's the only thing good out of North Carolina. Petey Pablo. Shout out to my
Giant fans would tell you Daniel Jones. He's from North Carolina, so they would tell you.
Okay,
that, you know.
And that's why Dallas.
I think maybe Duke he came out of. Maybe I got that wrong. I'm sorry.
Duke. That's right. Maybe and maybe that's why next year, the Cowboys are the 3rd best in the NFC East.
No, I think that's interchangeable in the NFC East. I don't think you have a dominant team. It's not like the AFC West. For the most part, with Kansas City or New England for the last 20-something years when Brady was there. Like, no, I don't think that. I think those between the Eagles and Cowboys and Giants and Commanders are kind of hovering a little bit. We got to expect the Giants will be better next year even still. So it could go either way. All those teams almost had a chance to be in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I think that might have been the first. I don't know if any division had all their teams in the playoffs. But that's But again, y'all beat the Purdy. Okay,
we've done that though. NFC West has done that. To be honest,
yes, in fact they all have. Yes.
Yeah. So.
But Don, to your point with Purdy, okay, I'm not hating on Purdy. I think Purdy is really, really good. And he's going to be a really good quarterback. I think you have your quarterback in future. In fact, the guy who needs to be afraid is Trey Lance. That's the guy who needs to be worried, okay? Because I think his job is gone. So get ready to get him packaged, or he'll stay on as your number 2. Jimmy will go, and that's now you finally figured out your quarterback situation. So at least you're happy about that, okay? But Purdy looks good. I'm not mad at Purdy, and I think you'll beat the Seahawks. I know you don't want to play a team 3 times in the same season. You're right. That can get tricky. And they did play y'all tough the last time they all played. But again, different quarterback, different system, different level of confidence. The Niners, I'm going to go right now. I'm going to say this to you, and then we can move on. The Niners will represent, this is what I'm predicting, okay? I'm not saying I want this to happen, but I'm predicting that the Niners will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. They will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think you'll beat the Eagles.
What took you so long?
No.
What took you so long? Welcome.
No, welcome. I didn't.
You even need those, right? Is that welcome in Spanish? How do you say welcome in Spanish? Welcome, man.
You know what? I'm not.
Listen, welcome aboard.
I don't feel welcome, and I don't want to be welcome. I'm not joining anything. Okay, I'm not joining no bandwagon. Okay, I'm just making an objective prediction. That's all.
As you should.
You will lose in the Super Bowl, as you will again for the 3rd time in maybe 10 years. You will lose again in the Super Bowl, and you still won't have more Super Bowls in Dallas. So you'll still stay with 5 Super Bowls like the Cowboys, and you're losing your record. Your percentage is getting worse, by the way. Okay, because you're going to lose another Super Bowl this year. So you're going to have 3 straight Super Bowls in a row. You're going to start looking like the Broncos of the 80s and the Buffalo Bills of the 90s. So you got to be careful, okay?
Right. We got to be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
Okay.
All right.
So we both like, we'll get closer with the scores and the particulars, but we like San Francisco over Seattle. What do you think about Jacksonville and versus the Chargers? And one thing I don't like is why did we start off? I mean, maybe because we're both on the West Coast. I'm talking about those teams, Seattle and San Francisco. Yeah. Why are we having or starting the playoffs at 1:30? I don't understand why we're starting, Wildcard weekend, right. And we have such an early game. That's a prime time game. I mean, realistically, we're the number 2 seed. Maybe they get them out of the way so they have more rest. I don't know why they would have us.
I didn't like that there.
I don't like the scheduling of it.
Yeah, I didn't like the scheduling on that either. The only thing that I could see possibly why they scheduled it that way, because for rating purposes, I do think you have a better matchup, right? With
Jacksonville
and Jacksonville, you know what I'm saying, with their quarterbacks. I think you've got two young quarterbacks that are clearly the future of the NFL. And I think you people would want to see that, because again, Don, y'all are expected to beat the Seahawks. No disrespect to Geno, but Geno's not bringing in eyeballs like that, right? I mean, the NFL is all about money, and they gotta have a prime time that works. I think they should have probably. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know if I could have put you guys in the prime time. Not this round. Not with Geno. No, Geno can't be in the prime time, and the Giants game can't be in prime. And I don't even know about Baltimore. I don't even know if Lamar Jackson is even playing or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's talk that he may play, but at this point, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I let them fall on their face.
I would too.
I mean, why am I risking my body and you don't believe in me? So correct. At this point, I want you guys to make the playoffs, because I played well enough in the beginning of the season for you guys to make the playoffs. Totally. And I injured myself. You don't have faith in me, and so you don't want to invest in me. I'm investing and sacrificing my body. Yeah, make the playoffs and lose in the first round. And you know what it is? Okay, you don't want me? Okay, franchise me. You franchise me, you got to pay me over $40 million and mid 40s, 40 or 45 million. Yeah. And I can go the Kirk Cousins route, where I'm getting guaranteed money. You want to franchise me again? You don't want to give me a long-term deal? Franchise me again. You got to pay me $50 million. or over 50 million. So in 2 years, I don't have a long-term deal, but if I have 100 million or close to 100 million fully guaranteed, who's losing? And then if you get rid of me, somebody will pay me a long-term deal. So I don't understand, Biscotti or whatever his name is. Why don't you, pay the man? Like, I get it. At some point, we can't use the fact that, he could, because you haven't really surrounded him other than having a great tight end. All of his receivers, his number one receivers, all got hurt, right? Run game, all of them got hurt. It was a injury carousel where they were coming in and out. Everyone's on IR, their knees and that, and they're coming back and forth. Cool. But he still was able to, get your team into the playoffs, and you had a real shot, had he not been injured, to win the division.
Totally agree.
He's an MVP. He's already done enough to get the payday. And absolutely. I think it's disrespectful at this point. And if you don't value him, if you don't value Lamar Jackson, let him go. Somebody will value him and give him what he is worth without question. You can't question. And this is the other thing. You can't question how he has worked and how he has progressed from year to year. Because when he first came out, he was strictly one read, I'm running, which is that in itself is dangerous to try to deal with. But after that, every year he has gotten better throwing the ball. So he's a good quarterback. He is truly a dual threat. He can run. He has accuracy. And, his decision making has been, pretty good, and he has improved every year. But if you don't trust him enough to invest in him, if I was Lamar Jackson, I would sit it out, because it can only you can only hurt what you do. You can only hurt yourself either getting injured, and then that's their excuse. Or they need to fail and understand that, hey, this is a two-way street.
Totally
agree. So I would sit out.
Yeah, I would sit out too. Yeah, he needs to go ahead and hit the market. I think whatever happens to Baltimore, they deserve. Period.
Yep.
Period. Point blank. Yeah. So I hope they lose out on him and he moves on, which he should. I agree.
So who do you like? We'll go back to Saturday's the start of the wild card. Who do you like between the Chargers and Jacksonville?
I like. Boy, that's good. But I'm going to go with Mike Williams. We saw him get hurt yesterday.
But he's supposed to be back, actually.
It wasn't play, right? Yeah,
right. He's going to play.
Serious. Okay. Yeah, I like the Chargers in this one. I do. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think Jacksonville definitely is going to put up a fight. And I think they're going to play respectable football. And it's going to be a good game. I really do. But I like the Chargers coming out on top of this one.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Our next show, we'll get into scores and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, this next one, Buffalo versus Miami. I think that's just, come on now. Listen,
I don't even think Tua's going to play either.
So. Tua's not going to play. He was in the tunnel looking, and him and Mostert, both injury. They were in the injury corner looking out the tunnel to see if they got it. And listen.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good story, but overall, I mean, do we think at any point, with everybody wearing 3? And, by the way, he is out of the hospital, and I think he is. If he's not home already, Damar Hamlin is not home. Mm-hmm. He is on his way home. So he has been discharged from the hospital. So that's a huge blessing. We're happy for him. Obviously, no longer in critical condition, released from the hospital. So that is great news. So I say all that to say that Miami has 0 chance to win this.
No, Miami has 0 chance.
0 chance. Couch. The NFL has, kind of. It was a.
So you think they'll win based on conspiracy for Saturday?
Not conspiracy,
because they'll beat them anyway. Right?
No, they'll beat them. They'll beat them just to beat them. But I'm talking about the Bills. You even hear different people as they speak about the Bills. They're like, oh man, this seems like a team of destiny. Right. And whenever you start hearing people saying that, they're conditioning your mind to think a certain way. Like, oh, because Nyheim Hines ran back two kickoffs, and then Josh Allen talking about the last time it happened was, 3 years and 3 months ago. Like, listen, we starting to get too, like, come
too
on.
mystical with it.
Yeah, it's getting too mystical. And so the NFL is eating that up because they like that kind of, when just like you have a Tua story, right? You have a Damar Hamlin story, and it is something that is, it puts the NFL in a good light, right? Because it obviously was a tragedy, right? But then they won't discount the fact that even through the NFLPA, they're not paying, for the most part, fully guaranteed contracts. Right. The way the mishandling of Tua, right, with his, 3 to 5 concussions he had this season. So now it's like, okay, we did the right thing this time, right? So what did they do? Now everyone has these, love for number 3 or whatever the shirt said. So this is something that probably is available to be sold. They're going to make money off of it. And I don't hear them saying that the proceeds are going to anything, right? If they said now the proceeds, now I know Damar Hamlin did some type of, I don't know if it was a GoFundMe or did some type of, he created shirts himself. And the proceeds from those shirts were going to the medical staff at that particular hospital that, that was so integral in him actually getting the care that he needed and making the recovery he did so fast. But I just think that, I think it's a good story. McDaniel, not McDaniel. McDermott. No, not McDermott. I think that it's McDaniel, the Miami coach. I think.
Oh, you're talking about Mike McDaniel, the coach.
Mike McDaniel. I think he he's showed that he has offensive genius, but I think overall he'll be overmatched. And I think they're in the market for another quarterback. They have to be, because they're too loaded not to try to maximize what they have. And Tua is too fragile. He's a nice guy. He seems really nice, humble guy, but he's too fragile for what they're looking to do. And especially in that conference, they're going to be dealing with the Jets, and the Jets are in the market for a quarterback because clearly that's not it. And maybe Mike White's not it, but we know Zach Wilson isn't it. So you got to deal with the Jets and the Bills all the time, and you got to deal with the Patriots, who might be in the market for a quarterback. So everybody is kind of trying to get better, but it's a tough division. It's incredibly competitive, and I think Miami would kind of boost themselves by definitely getting a different quarterback.
No, I definitely agree. I think, again, I know, the Jets, there was I read something, I think earlier today, they might be trying to look and try to make a pitch for Lamar. You got Derek Carr out there. Clearly his days are over.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. You could definitely see some quarterback improvement in the AFC East coming. I agree. Tua's always had injury, history. And so I don't think that the Dolphins are going to give him anything long term. I mean, they'll pay him, but I don't think they're going to definitely give him a contract that's soft with a lot of contingencies in it. And if he happens not to take it, I don't think they'd be upset. I think they're just like, okay, I'm sure that they're working on some other things to get in there. So no, I agree. But I'll make this quick point, which, I do agree. The NFL, look, they have to with the Damar Hamlin thing, right? They use this as a means, I feel, again, to bring in the casual sport watcher, right? Everybody loves a good story. You got people at home that may not be avid sport watchers, but somebody got hurt. It's on the national news. It's on the Today Show, Good Morning America. A lot of eyeballs on those TV shows, right? They say, hey, now they're going to look for a game to see if he's going to show up or if he's going to come out. And you best believe, I think he might end up showing up at a game in the playoffs, and he'll probably be there on Saturday or Sunday. So and they gotta take advantage of that. That's just the NFL. I'm not totally upset about that. As long as it don't affect the outcome of the games, I have no issues with it. So it is what it is. That's just what they're gonna do. So.
And real quick, another NFL player that we want to send our prayers out to is Peyton Hillis.
Yes.
Peyton Hillis, my understanding is he recently, I think both of his young children were drowning, and he went in to save them from drowning. He was successful, but he is dealing with a lot of injuries right now. He's dealing with kidney issues. I think he's in ICU. They were saying, I don't know exactly what happened as it pertains to his internal injuries, but they were saying he was still coughing up sand, and it's pretty bad. So, we want to send our prayers to him because he had, although he had a pretty short career, impactful. He was once on the cover of Sports Illustrated because he was a good player for a set amount of time. But more importantly than that, here is a man that is, trying to save his kids. And so we want to give him, a shout out and also send our prayers to him that he makes a full recovery so that their kids could have, their dad.
Absolutely. Totally agree, D. Yeah. Our prayers with him. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So let's, one more game that we'll kind of preview. Okay. What do you think about Cincinnati, Baltimore? You think that Baltimore, Burrow,
no chance. Yeah, that's Cincinnati. No chance. The first round is pretty much, maybe the Vikings, Giants might be the only interesting game, but yeah, I think all the other games.
I actually like the Giants. I'm going to be honest. I like the Giants over the Vikings.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think the Vikings will win, but I wouldn't be surprised because, that's what they do. They'll just extend themselves from the regular season and do what they do. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Wildcard weekend, there has to be an upset. There has to be.
Dallas over Tampa Bay. That would be the upset I like to see.
Maybe.
Even though Dallas is actually favored by 3.
Exactly, by 3 points. So Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. So there has to be an upset because if it's all chalk, you got to look at it from a Vegas standpoint. So Vegas is not going to let those.
If Seattle wins, is that Vegas?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, there has to be.
You don't want to play the same team 3 times. So
I did say that, but that game? No. Based on if we're basing it solely off of players and we're basing it off of team, like we are a way better team, top to bottom than Seattle is, right? So. But understanding that from a standpoint of Vegas and just the casual person that now is, some people are just interested once the playoff starts, right? Because I'm not really into hockey, but once it starts getting to the Stanley Cup, right, I'm paying attention to teams. So that's the same thing with, the casual that is now drawn in from the Damar Hamlin. Now they are interested in watching the Bills and how far they go. And because now it's a condensed schedule. There's only X amount of games. So now people's eyes are focused. If it's all chalk and all the favorites win, I just think there will be an upset. And I think the upset will be, and it would be great for us if the upset is, the Giants winning. Especially when people are talking about Brian Daboll being the coach of the year and, how he was able to turn around Daniel Jones and the way the Giants have been looking. So, and with all the injuries that they've had to the receiving core. So them still being in the playoffs, if they're able to beat the number 3 seed, that would be a big upset.
I agree. That would be a game.
That would be, hopefully it is not the Seattle 49ers game. That would
no, it won't be. No,
that would be crushing because they want to see us. I think, I think that the Bills versus the Niners would be a good Super Bowl. The Bills the Niners versus Kansas City. Anything that the Niners and said team in the Super Bowl.
Well, the Niners are really, at the end of the day, probably the
cream of the crop.
Interesting team in the NFC, although you got the Eagles too. Let's not just go ahead and omit them. I mean,
they got some injuries though, And
no, they do, and they didn't look great against the Giants either. But
didn't.
I mean, but if you just want to go with natural, pure football, it would either be the Eagles or the 49ers you want to see versus Kansas City or Buffalo. You know what I mean? That's probably what you would want to see. But Cincinnati makes good TV too, I think.
They do.
They
do. They have a really good offense. So that would be interesting. All of our offensive pieces versus the Mixons and the T. Higgins and that would be good.
Oh,
and it would be
really good.
How about this? AFC Championship game goes back to Cincinnati and Buffalo. The game that was canceled, they get a rematch in the AFC Champ. Then let me tell you what the NFL will do. NFL will orchestrate some stuff. I'm telling you, they know how to orchestrate some stuff.
I tell you, man. Well, listen, I'm gonna tell you what, man. America, Don Spiracy, as he's also known as, again, he comes up with these scenarios in his head, and I have to say, in some instances, it is a little scary because you start to see shades of some of these things actually coming to fruition there, just like with J.J. Watt yesterday with the sacks and so forth. And so, it gets a little interesting. So yeah, to see that as the AFC Championship game, which well could be the case. I think that's what you would probably say, but I think Kansas City will have something to say about that. But yeah, that would be good though. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about. There's already been some heads on the chopping block, coach wise, and. Let me ask you something real quick. Sure. Lovie Smith, right?
Yep.
Did Lovie Smith get a raw deal? That is Lovie Smith's twin.
That is nobody but. That's nobody but.
Put a gray beard on him. That's Lovie Smith.
Yeah, that's it.
But Lovie Smith, I thought, got a raw deal. And nothing good is going to happen for the Texans as long as they do the coaches like this. Okay, so you had David Culley, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you have Lovie Smith. David Culley, one and done. Lovie Smith, one and done. And Lovie Smith, good for him. Mm-hmm. The Texans were, based on their record, was definitely a lock to get the first round draft pick. Lovie Smith goes for 2, wins the game, and now they get the second pick. Because Lovie Smith, I mean, let's face it, he knew he wasn't going to get an extension. He was going to be one and done. And pretty much they use these coaches, they never give them and the Texans, for any quarterback, even if they got the number 1 pick, you don't want to go to the Texans. Just look at their history of quarterbacks. That is a quarterback graveyard. When you go there, listen, you will be beloved by the fans, and depending on who they surround you with, there is no future in that. So good for Lovie to get them back and put the screws to them before they put the screws to him.
I thought that was a great bloom.
But I think that there is a lot of coaching positions.
Yes.
And so what I want to ask you is, what is the most intriguing or best landing location? Now, I'm going to run through the possible vacancies and the jobs that are interim. And also I will say this, depending on what happens Wildcard weekend, there's going to be more vacancies. So we got the Broncos, we got the Texans, the Cardinals, right? Because they just fired Cliff and the general manager. Carolina, that's an interim. The Colts, you got Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday should be going back, to the booth. You got McVay talking about his future and whether he wants to play. The Commanders, we can get eliminated. He's out of there. They got to get rid of Ron Rivera. The Chargers, I think if the Chargers don't, their coach, I think he is on his way out, because I don't think with that team, yes, they had a lot of injuries, right? They had a lot of injuries because they made in free agency last year, they made a lot of splash plays as far as picks. They got their defense, they bulked up. Now injuries, there's nothing you can do about injuries. But I think his time management. Remember last year, it was his fault. They didn't even make it to the playoffs last year. by calling the stupid timeout.
Yeah.
So there are, I think the Chargers have to be, while they still have these quarterback, they're not paying their quarterback any significant money, but that time is coming. And they've made some, picks on the defensive end to try to bulk up. They got a great running back in Eckler. They got Keenan Allen, who's aging. They got Mike Williams, who is injury prone. But overall, that window, I know everyone's not Joe Burrow that says my whole career is my window. My whole career is my championship window. But you have to be realistic and say, I think he might be on the hot seat too. What do you say?
Well, I say this. I mean, when you talk about the teams that are most attractive, right? In my mind, I still think, honestly speaking, you still have to, you got to still look at Denver, because even though Russell Wilson had a deplorably bad season, one that was completely unexpected by almost everybody, even the pundits that watch and dig into the bones of football, nobody saw that coming. And so I think you can attribute the dismal failure of the Broncos to Nathaniel Hackett, who obviously they let go. You still got a really good roster there, right? You got a good defense. You got Jerry Jeudy, who's a good wide receiver there. And Russell Wilson, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? You got to say, okay, he did play bad, he looked bad, but at the end of the day, I think you got a humbling situation there with him. I do think he's going to come back a lot more focused and determined to bounce back. I think now he's going to really get positioned into understanding, okay, Seattle is behind me now. I got to really get focused on this. I can't live off what I used to do or what I did in Seattle. I think that's still an attractive job for a head coach, because you have pretty much, for all intents and purposes, a Hall of Fame quarterback. It just depends if you're looking to build something. But if you got a good defense already, and you got a some nice weapons,
good running backs,
right?
Javonte Williams, he just injured.
Javonte Williams, yeah,
he was balling out.
He was balling before he got hurt. So I think when you look at that, if you're a head coach, you're not really wanting to go from the bottom up. Maybe want to come to that midpoint. Couple more pieces, get the culture right, get them where they need to be, put some life back into Russell Wilson. I think you got a good situation there. I don't agree with the Texans. I think the organization is bad. So you made good points on that. I wouldn't touch that. The Colts, again, they the quarterback situation, definitely don't want to touch that. Even though, again, and I'll be honest, I don't know all of who's coming out of college. So I don't know. And if you want to go into free agency, right, who do you pull out? Who do you get? Maybe in a trade, you can probably get, like I said, we talked about the Cars and the Lamars out there. And, you talk about, possibly, your Sam Darnolds and you got, possibly your guy there, Garoppolo. So you got some people around, but are they going to move the needle? Probably not. So you might have to get somebody from the draft, and you got to try to build somebody up. And that's just it. I don't know if a coach wants to really, be able to do that. And that's why Sean Payton, I think he's going to end up there in Denver, if you ask me. But that's my take on what's available out there as far as that goes. But now the Cardinals could be interesting too because of Kyler. But I think this is just me. I'll say this very quickly. I think Kyler Murray, I don't know, it just feels like there's a negative reputation being built around him now. I just think he can be difficult, it seems to me.
I'm so glad. Let me tell you. I was, and I promise that we did not discuss this whatsoever. We didn't discuss our takes on that. And I was talking to one of my boys who is a big Cardinals fan. Okay. And I told him that is going to be the knock on Kyler Murray. And that is what's going to make that job not attractive. Right. You have this is what I personally think. He had a relationship with Cliff. Right. But you at the college level and on the pro level, but yet you got the bag already. So you know that you're secure. They're not going to move away from Kyler Murray at least until another 3 years, where the cap hit would not be as great. Right. But you are telling him to calm the bleep down. Right. And you're undermining him. D-Hop is out of there. If I'm D-Hop, I don't want and let's face it, Kyler Murray is because D-Hop. If there's teams that would love to have a DeAndre Hopkins on their team, and let's face it, from a standpoint of what Kyler Murray has done, right? Kyler Murray is good for 8 games a year, and that would be good. In college, right? That would be good with other sports. But in the NFL, since we have a 17-game season, that doesn't work, right? So Kyler Murray over the last, he puts up gaudy numbers either on the beginning of the season or the last, 8 games or so. But he is injury prone. He is a slight. He is he's 5 foot nothing. He's slight. He's a slight a quarterback, and he does not seem coachable. That's the biggest knock. He doesn't seem coachable. And if you're in the NFL and you still got plaits, that's another knock. You shouldn't have plaits. Have braids, but don't have plaits. I think that's just a side note. But I think he doesn't seem coachable, and we've seen him blow up on his teammates. He's not really a good leader. There's a reason why they had to put in his contract that he had to study the playbook. I don't think, and I don't think he ever forgave Cliff for that. And I think that wasn't a surprise that they parted ways. But hey, is Cliff mad? They just gave him an extension 10 months ago. So he was extended to 2027. So he's chilling. He's still going to be at that beautiful Arizona house. Or if he chooses to sell floor to ceiling windows, still getting a check from the Cardinals.
Still getting the check.
So if the offensive line, they have a lot of stuff that I would move DeAndre Hopkins, try to get some pieces to protect Kyler Murray because he's always running for his life, and that's all well and good, but. Instead of Kyler working and dealing and using his arm more, it seems like he's running because there's no protection. And now you're losing J.J. Watt. They need to beef up their corners. I think that that's not an attractive job because if Kyler Murray was on a franchise tag and you still had the coach coming in, whether it was, Jim Harbaugh, or if it was Sean Payton, someone that has some cachet and still had a power to decide, hey, let's move in another direction. But even if you get a 5-year deal, you have to deal with Kyler Murray at the end of the day. So that there has to be buy-in for someone that you've committed to. And they we talked about, they haven't committed to Lamar Jackson. They have committed to Kyler Murray. I think it was a mistake when they did it. And now good luck trying to find a coach that is willing to deal with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, not a good look there. They're going to have a problem really finding somebody I think that could really, work with Kyler and compliment him. And, unless they have a really,
he needs to be coddled. He needs to be coddled.
Oh, big time.
And all quarterbacks are divas in a sense, but his is obviously shows out. Everyone's talking about, Russell Wilson behind the scenes getting all this special treatment, but you didn't see it on the field. You didn't see it on the sideline. I mean, you see Kyler's in living color, right? You're seeing it on the sideline. You're seeing him snapping at DeAndre Hopkins, trying to calm him down. You see him yelling at the head coach. You're seeing all that in real time. There's cameras everywhere. So the fact that he's not willing to at least suck it up, pause, right? On the field, and deal with it behind the scenes and keep kind of a universal front, lets you know that there's maturity issues. And what coach wants to deal with that. And unless someone my boy brought up, Eric Bieniemy. Now that job could be okay for a first-time head coach. But if I'm Eric Bieniemy, why am I going from a team that is always in contention, always a Super Bowl contender, to that where now I'm looking like that's my first head coaching job. I got to deal with him who is already uncoachable. That's not a good move. I would stay and keep trying to get rings and keep, padding my stats. So when the right job presented itself, I would be ready.
Exactly.
So you know,
I think though when you look at that in relationship to Kyler and the you look at the situation with Kyler and everyone. I think one of the things you gotta keep in mind is that you talked about Eric Bieniemy. I ain't gonna lie, Eric. I don't know. I don't know about him. I think he just feels like a coach that can only be what he is, and that's an offensive coordinator. I think still there's a lot of things with relationship to, is it really him, or is it Andy Reid, or is it him and Andy Reid, right? Because Andy Reid is a great play caller and great play designer. Did it in Philly, did it also here, but in Kansas City. But Bieniemy, obviously, we're not taking anything away from him. He is a valuable piece to the success of the Kansas City Chiefs. But I don't know if he would translate into a head coach. I just don't know if he's the kind of guy that could handle it all. If he's in a lane, offense, play calling, that's a lot easier. But when you have to run a team, ask North Turner about that. Ask Vance Johnson. Ask, Todd Bowles. Ask guys that really.
Ask Josh McDaniel.
Josh McDaniel, right? That's probably the best example.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys, I don't know. Bieniemy doesn't feel like a head coach kind of guy.
But he should get a shot. He should get a shot. Based on his success level, he should get a shot.
I totally agree. I think at least get an interview. I would just want to get an interview. But he should get a shot. No question about it. I don't disagree with that.
And D'Amico, please don't go to the Texans.
He's gone.
Please.
He's gone.
He's going to leave, but don't go to the Texans. Listen, I'm happy for him, and I know that because we're going to get picks back for him. So cool. He can go, but don't go to the Texans. I know that you have roots in the, played for the Texans. Don't go there because, McNair, he don't care. He don't care. So don't go there. Don't go there. Go and any team, all of the vacancies that I spoke on, they would be stupid to not to give him, because you can tell he's a leader of men. He has, unfortunately, that's what the Niners do. They keep pumping out great coaches.
No, y'all do. Y'all have to admit, y'all do have great coaches that have come out. I agree. From Saleh to McDaniels, a lot of guys. No question. No, y'all do. Y'all definitely turn out some good.
You got Brian Leftwich that he should get an opportunity.
Yeah,
although he was talking a little like, our numbers is down, and he tried to throw a little Geno. They want to throw dirt on us. Like, listen, don't do that whole, they wanted to write us off, but we ain't right back. You guys look terrible. And, so just, you can speak to what you can be, and without embellishing and lying, our eyes are telling us what we see. We see that you guys have declined, right? You are tops in a lot of statistical categories, and now you're in the bottom tier. It is what it is, but you still made the playoffs. You still won your division. Yeah. But don't act like, it was a lie, and what we see, we shouldn't believe.
Right, exactly.
So, but I think he should get an opportunity. So there is, your defensive coordinator, he's going to get an opportunity. And I didn't put that on there, but I do think if the Cowboys lose in the first round again, I got to think that Mike McCarthy is at least Jerry Jones has to consider it, that he has to go. He has to go.
No, I think what will happen is, and then I know we covered it. I would say this, though. They would probably get rid of Kellen Moore first before they get rid of Mike McCarthy. I think Kellen Moore, his play calling, he's just so inconsistent. Some days he looks like Boy Wonder. Like, wow, man, he's calling a great game. He's flowing, this fluidity. But then the next week, it's like, why don't you stick with what you were doing? Why do you keep going back to this kind of just, I don't understand, inexplicable play calling? Because Dallas loves to run on first down, which I don't understand. I don't get it. You ran up the hole against Tennessee and the Redskins, two of the top running defenses in the league. And you just kept giving the ball to the same, to Zeke, and I'm going right there. Zeke, just inches, pile of dust. And they just kept doing it.
Zeke is getting older by the play.
No, by the play.
I'm telling you by the play. Zeke is looking bad. You better hope Tony Pollard, excuse me, is able. He hasn't looked good, but you better hope Tony Pollard can have those 30 carries because Zeke looks bad.
But the line isn't looking good though. We really haven't blown since Terrence Steele went down at right tackle. Dallas running game went right down the hole. He is the best in the league as a run blocker. He's one of the best. PFF stats, everything. He's one of the best. When he went down, Dallas line just went down as far as the running game. But to answer your question, no, I don't think they'll hire Mike. I don't think they would hire Dan Quinn as their head coach. I don't think so. I just think Dan is. This is my thing. I'll say this real quick about coaches. You got to be careful who you hire, right? Because you can get that rah-rah guy, but it's a quarterback league. You need a good offensive coordinator, right? So if you don't have a good offensive coordinator, what do you end up with? You end up with a guy who could scheme plays and call offensive plays, right? So you got your McDaniels, your Kyle Shanahans. You got to have guys, your Mike, your McVays. You got to have guys that could do offense and call plays. If you can't call plays, you got to get a good OC in there. I think we lose something a little bit with the rah-rah guy a little bit. That's why Salah's going to need a guy, because Salah's defense. He's got to get a guy that can come in there and play and do the offensive side and build their quarterbacks up. And that's the thing. You need a guy who can build your quarterback up. So you got to still end up getting a good OC. Your coach is only as good as the OC or the DC that you bring in. And so that's part of the issue right there. Look at the Titans. I think they fired almost 14 of their coaches already. They just got rid of everybody. Vrabel might be the only guy left standing. So, but yeah. So anyway.
It's going to be really good just before we talk about the last topic. The Detroit's going to be really good next year.
They are. I really hope they really continue to build on what they've done. That team was 1-6 in the beginning of the season, man.
Right.
To see and to play with nothing on the line, going into that game moments before, knowing now that you had nothing to play for, which could be debilitating, right? And you just go out there and you play like it was a Super Bowl. And I'm so glad they defeated Aaron Rodgers. I love to see him in defeat. Him and Tom Brady, when they lose, it's joy. It's ooh.
If you still got $100+ million guaranteed, did you really lose?
Yeah,
because he still holds the Packers hostage, right? Because he's always I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
No.
He's already he's looking down and blowing out, and he got one of the hallucinogenic drugs under his tongue while he's looking to. I think he knows that contractually he has them right where he wants it. So he's going to drag it out as long as he possibly can, because they owe him, I think, something like $50 million.
Yeah. Or
he'll make $60 million next year and $49 million the following year.
Correct.
A team. Let's as much as the Packers are a storied franchise, that's a small market team, at the end of the day. So they can't afford to take those cap hits. Yeah, they're not paying Jordan Love any money, but they can't afford that, So
no,
he has them. And now to find someone to trade for him, and they know that, the potential team knows that the Packers need to come up off of that contract. Well, that gives them, more leverage than they do the Packers. And if they want to try out Jordan Love, I think he'll be there for at least another year, at least.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm going to retire. I don't believe that. Yeah. And I got to see what they want to do. And they already told you what they want to do. They gave you a $150 million, a 3-year extension for $150 million. So they already told you what they want to do.
Right. So, exactly. Yeah, they want you around.
Right. But can you produce, Lastly, let's just, there was one thing that I thought maybe was covered, but we want to kind of double back on it. The Steelers, they had I think they had a sack on the quarterback, and they did something that was distasteful as far as their, sack celebration, which they kind of did a whole, simulated CPR chest compressions. Is the NFL? Do you think the NFL will fine them for this? Is this a finable celebration, or is this just distasteful and that's all there is to it? What do you say?
No, I think it warrants a fine. I really do. I think you have to, if you're the NFL, number one, you do have restrictions on the kind of celebrations you actually can enact, right? Whether it be touchdowns, sacks, there's certain things you just can't do, right? Or if you're just too excessive, it turns into an unsportsmanlike conduct. Well, that's kind of like what that would be, right? I mean, it's not, obviously Damar Hamlin is not playing in that game, and that was not a direct, gesture to the team that they were playing on Sunday. But at the end of the day, in the wake of things, bad taste, as we know, poor taste, bad judgment. But I just think that just was not called for. And I think the NFL should. I don't know if they would. Here's what I think will happen. I think they will fine him. They will fine him. It'll probably go to the players union, but then, right? Well, no, let me take that back. I think if they start a fine, it's gonna stay that way. Because the player union, what would it look like for them to defend that, right? I mean, even though they would have contractually rights to do it and be able to say, well, there's no legal ground. When I say legal grounds, in other words, within the framework and the policy of
in
the
CBA,
NFL,
there's nothing.
In the CBA, right? There's nothing in the CBA. Yes, that would enforce a fine, right, per se. Because again, it wasn't anything directed to that team or something like that. But then at the same time, right? I mean, Marshawn Lynch has been getting away, and somebody else did it this year. For grabbing his crotch every time he goes into the end zone.
But that's,
you know what I mean?
I think it's obscene. The obscene gestures.
Right.
Remember when LeBron James, he scored and he was walking down and that is obscene gestures. I think that if the NFL finds them, I think they've gone too far, right? To be honest, yes, it's in poor taste, but if they're gonna fine them, that's not like jumping in the
Salvation Army kettle.
The Salvation Army kettle, because the reason why they're finding them is because you're using props. My understanding is they've done this type of celebration before, so this wasn't a first time. But now, given in light of Damar Hamlin, now it takes a different meaning, and people are viewing it differently. But I don't think the NFL should fine them for this, just because, I mean, are they fining them for having poor taste? Because it's not a situation where...
Well, I mean, that's what everything would be, right? I mean, even if it's an obscene gesture, that's still poor taste. At the end of the day...
So if someone catches an interception, let's just use this as an example. Someone catches an interception and acts like they're injured after the play, or acts like they caught an interception, kind of ran it back, and then act like they had pulled a hamstring or hurt themselves. Like, I think we would go too far if every time the NFL overreaches. And I think that finding them, because what would be the grounds of it? It's not obscene. It's not a gesture. They're not playing the team that was involved in it. And even if they were playing the Bills when that happened, it's just bad taste. It's in bad taste. But emergencies, people get injured all the time, right? But if they've already been doing this celebration, I just think that the NFL, now I think they're going too far if they indeed fine them for that.
I mean, I see some of your points there, but I just think that...
And the CBA, I'll just say this, from the NFLPA, their standpoint is they're supposed to, the job of a union is to protect what the CBA is, the black and white of it.
Right.
So we can't get emotionally charged. And now because this is,
I agree.
Now because this is a hot button point, now we have to start bending the rules.
That's why the NFL would, if the NFL chose to do it, they know that the PA is going to, the players union is going to end up defending the player and most likely get off, right? But here's what the NFL's would just there's their position of it. We found it to be insensitive and in poor taste. we defended that situation to show our sensitivity to that, to what they did, and it was the players' union that
of course.
showed no sensitivity by sticking to the letter of the law that's in the CBA, which they are supposed to do.
That's what they're supposed to do.
But it's all about optics, right? It's all about what's perceived, and that's just how it is, right? OJ got off, but we all know he did it, so that's just how it works.
Well, I don't listen now. That's a whole nother show now. We're going to start. That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. Yep.
But
a whole nother show. But go ahead. Yeah.
I think we have so many other topics that we could talk about, but we have another show, and we will, we're going to touch upon the whole, Dana White, Brett Favre, Kyrie. Yeah. Where's the hypocrisy? Where is all of the outrage for, the equal outrage, right? That's all we ask for, right? Is, everything to be fair and equal, right? So just how ESPN was willing to go and everybody had an opinion and something to say and their take on the Kyrie situation, why doesn't everyone have their take on Brett Favre? And now we have, with Dana White, we have it on camera what he did. Whether it was, and I've even heard different people on ESPN defending the fact that she struck him first. That one thing has nothing to do with the other, right? So we're going to touch on all that on our next show. Yeah, but just a little kind of, because that is something that, it's amazing. A 24-hour news cycle of sports and different things, events that take place, that somehow has dropped off. That's not important. That's too low. That's something that they don't want to discuss. It's kind of cooled off. But you got Stephen A. Smith saying how much he loves Dana White and how much Dana is sorry. Well, where is Dana being called to the carpet? Let him speak for himself. Stephen A., you do not have to speak for Dana White, okay? Dana White is a successful businessman that has built up this business that is, he has made himself a household name. We do not need you. He does not need Stephen A. Smith to speak up for him and apologize for him and tell the world how sorry he is and that you love him. We don't need that. But yet Stephen A. was willing to do that. He's willing to give Dana White the benefit of the doubt. And if you are willing to do that, be willing to do it with everyone. That's all. That's all we ask. Be willing to give the benefit of the doubt to everybody that has made a said discretion or a mistake or did something, a misjudgment or
I agree.
Just be fair across the board.
Just be fair. That's all we want. That's all we want. And that's what we do here at Brooklyn Beards and Ball. We keep it 100. We don't start with the culture and then back away. Like, we're going to call everybody out. We don't care. Black, white, blue, green, purple. We just want to make sure that we keep it 100 across the board. And so, get ready for our takes on that one next time.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, Rod, thank you for
always my brother
joining me today. Shout out to Infinite Audio for the music.
In the building.
Shout out to Kingdom Creative for the production. Once again, everyone, please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook page. YouTube first. YouTube first. And make sure that you hit the notification button so that every time we put out content, you are the first to know about it.
Right.
We appreciate you guys joining us. It's going to be an exciting playoff or wild card weekend. And go Niners. Cowboys one and done. Until next time. Peace.